Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to join me. It is Friday, which means we have start sits coming at you. I'm also going to get you my updated tiers for every single position. That means we're covering quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defenses, and kickers as well, to give you guys the most up-to-date news and information so we can make the best possible roster decisions and crush our opponents in a critical week 15. Now the playoffs are here, so of course that means that chaos has to reign. There have been so many issues with COVID, injuries, and the like going on this week. So I really encourage you guys, reach out to me, whether that is down below here or on Sleeper. I want to be able to help you out, answer your questions, so that we can get those dubs together. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe. The support means the world to me, and it helps me out a ton. It enables me to do what I love so I can keep bringing you guys the content that you love. With all of that said, done, and out of the way, what do we have for you today? 17 different players and situations that are going to affect your rosters. I also am going to cover, like I said, those updated tiers in each of them so that we can get you the most critical information and dominate this week. With that done, let's get into Start Sit. We kick it off with quarterbacks, and there are 4 different players that I'm going to discuss in depth. The first one being one of the most important, and that is Josh Allen. Now, he did return to a full participant on practice for Friday, and that was great because back-to-back limited sessions Wednesday and Thursday, it was not looking great. He is on track to play against Carolina, and I think even though he is slightly hindered, possibly mobility-wise, he remains an elite option for me. Now, this next player situation is a little more complex. It's Jalen Hurts, and the first thing that we need to note is that the game has now been moved to Tuesday. That is great news for Hurts owners. I believe that means for sure he is going to be able to get healthy enough to get back. He's been a couple weeks since that high ankle sprain. I still think his mobility is going to be limited, which definitely hurts his upside, and due to that, I'm dropping him from the middle of my second tier to the bottom of my third tier. He's still a solid option, but we know that a ton of his production comes from the ground with his legs, and so that is not going to be there quite to the extent that it has been so far. A far more worrisome situation is Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. It is definitely time to worry for Jackson owners, as Lamar once again missed practice on Thursday. Now, he is playing in the second batch of games. That does not help, and you need to have a plan in place now in case he's inactive. Unless you have someone like Teddy Bridgewater or Jimmy Garoppolo, you likely cannot wait unless more news comes out tomorrow night on Saturday. He's going to stay in my rankings, but he drops once again from the 3rd to the 4th tier. The most unfortunate news comes from Washington. It's Mr. Bud Liedeke, and it looks like Taylor Heinicke is going to be out Tuesday in that matchup against Philadelphia. He was recently placed on the COVID reserve list. The next man up is recent practice squad signee Garrett Gilbert. Yeah, he's the guy in line to start. So I basically want no part of this Washington offense if I can avoid it. It means my ride or die, Antonio Gibson, absolutely plummets from my rankings, and I absolutely do not like Terry McLaurin, who I was already down on to begin with. I just see a ton of risk in that offense now. It's likely the Eagles load the box up, make them try to beat them through the air, and I do not believe that this Garrett Gilbert dude is the guy that's going to be able to beat that. Into my updated tiers we go. I'm going to focus in here on tier number 1, and it is Kyler Murray, who travels to Detroit. If you're a Murray owner, maybe last week's slight letdown of a game isn't all that bad. It probably lights a fire under him for the rest of the year, and it starts here against Detroit. Into tier number 2, it's Taysom Hill traveling to Tampa to take on the Bucs. Thankfully, you do not have to watch him play, and honestly, you probably shouldn't. But the points are going to come all the same, and that you can enjoy. Into my 3rd tier, I'm looking at Justin Fields, who has a home matchup with my Minnesota Vikings. I loved the upside here. Do not be surprised if Fields carries the Bears to an upset either. Minnesota is going to have trouble containing him all day. In the fourth tier, Ben Roethlisberger has a home matchup with the Titans. And Big Ben is going to do everything that he can to keep the Steelers' playoff hopes alive. I don't think that it is enough, but they're going to make it interesting, and all of a sudden, Ben has a solid ceiling too. On to tier 5, and in the same game, it's Ryan Tannehill taking on those Steelers. His floor is what we are after here. The upside and ceiling really does not exist, but he's not going to kill you either. Heading into my running back player situations, there is a slew of them, 7 in all. We're going to start in LA with a combination of Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. Now, there is still no news on the situation with Darrell Henderson, so as an owner, we need to remain vigilant. There should be news coming out Saturday, hopefully, with some more clarity. For now, going into the games this weekend, I have Henderson as a top 10 play at the position if he is active. If not, Sony Michel would slide into my third tier. The Rams play on Tuesday now, so options are going to be scarce if you wait. Great news in Tampa Bay. Leonard Fournette has been tending to a sore ankle. He did not practice Thursday. However, he put in a full practice on Friday, and he should see his usual workload. He is once again an elite option. A little bit of a question mark in Chicago, at least right now. It's David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Both of these guys missed practice on Thursday due to a non-COVID related illness. It is likely that Monty plays, but if you can, grab Herbert just in case as insurance. Absolutely massive news in New England about Damian Harris and his co-partner, Ramondre Stevenson. Harris is officially out with a hamstring injury, which makes Stevenson an excellent option for owners. He soars into my second tier and could have a monster performance against an Indy run defense that has struggled as of late. The last time he started for an injured Harris, he put up over 100 yards of total offense and scored twice. Kind of expected, but still a little bit of a bummer in Detroit. It's DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and now Craig Reynolds is involved. Now, with no news of Jamal Williams' availability and back-to-back absences from Swift in practice, this is a situation to avoid entirely in a tough matchup against Arizona. Now, if Swift magically decides he's going to play this game, he lands at the end of my third tier, but managers cannot count on that happening, and they need to look elsewhere for running back help. Storms are a-brewing in San Francisco with the running back news of Elijah Mitchell and in return, Jeff Wilson Jr. Now, the good news here is that Wilson was present at practice on Thursday. The bad news is he wasn't actually practicing. He was off to the side with trainers. Now, even worse, he completely missed practice on Friday, putting a lot of doubt about his availability to suit up. This means that we need to keep an even closer eye on the situation. If Jeff Wilson is available, he shouldn't be, but pick him up if he is because he was the guy that got all of the running back carries last week when Mitchell missed. Now, Mitchell is going to drop pretty significantly. Right now, I have him in my second tier. Wilson would slide to the top of my fourth tier if he indeed ends up being the starter. With an absolutely amazing matchup against Atlanta, he could easily smash that ranking as the main cog in that 49ers offense with a little bit of J. Michael Hasty sprinkled in the backfield. Now, moving to the desert in James Conner, it's an early Sunday start for them, which saves managers from having to panic, but he did begin the week with back-to-back missed practices. Now, Friday, Coach Cliff Kingsbury said that he expects both Conner and Chase Edmonds to be able to suit up. That's great news for owners. Conner has been dealing with an ankle injury, and right now we do not know what type of workload Edmonds is going to garner. He's a shaky flex at best for me. Conner remains a top tier option. Pressing onward into my updated tiers, we're going to start in the first with Nick Chubb and a home matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. With the QB situation in absolute shambles, Chubb could get more work here than he's had all season. Against this defense, that is music to owners' ears. To the second tier, it's Leonard Fournette with a home matchup against the Saints. Now, playoff Lenny is in full effect, and even in a tough matchup, he's shown that he is a critical piece. In an offense, scoring over 30 seemingly every week, he is likely to ball out once again. Into my third tier, and my heart has been broken ever so slightly with this Antonio Gibson situation in Philadelphia. My confidence has been absolutely shattered with the news that Garrett Gilbert is starting at quarterback on Tuesday for Washington. The risk here is massive that the Eagles sell out to stop the run. In the fourth tier, Devonta Freeman has a home matchup against the Pack. And this is likely a massive volume game for Freeman, and it's enough to overcome a difficult matchup. There is plenty of touchdown upside here. Chase Edmonds is my noteworthy player in tier number 5. He has a road matchup with the Lions. Even if he is limited, a handful of touches against the Lions warrants flex consideration. There are safer options, but the upside at this point in my rankings is unmatched. There are 5 wide receiver player situations to talk about in week 15. Let's hop right into it with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Now, Tyler Lockett is on the COVID list, and DK Metcalf had a new back injury pop up on Thursday. We know that is never a positive sign. Since Lockett tested positive and had reservations last year due to a pre-existing heart abnormality, it is very possible that he does not suit up even with the extended period of time for him to get negative tests. Now, I've dropped each of these guys in my rankings because of it. I've also dropped Russell Wilson a full tier with this news. Now, Gerald Everett, the tight end, enters the tight end 4 conversation in that tier. He is an option for owners at this point. Next, I am going to discuss Marquise Brown. And after being a full participant on Wednesday, Brown missed practice on Thursday due to a non-COVID related illness. I already did not love him this week, so this puts a little bit of a damper on him even more. He is downgraded slightly. Into Minnesota we go. I'm talking about Adam Thielen and in return, KJ Osborne. This is a fairly difficult situation for owners with the Vikings playing on Monday night. But after suffering a high ankle sprain just a couple weeks ago, I would be absolutely amazed if Thielen was able to give it a go. If I'm an owner, I am setting my lineup without him. I have added KJ Osborne to the bottom of my 4th tier, and he is a solid option. He's got touchdowns in back-to-back games and 130 yards since Thielen left early against Detroit. To Miami, and it's Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker. Now, it seems highly unlikely at this point that Jalen Waddle is going to be able to suit up, so I'm removing him from my rankings. His absence would leave a huge opportunity for Devontae Parker, who now slides to the back end of my 4th tier. If Waddle is indeed ruled out, there would be massive upside for Parker against those Jets. Now, Mike Gesicki also gets a bump. He moves up in my rankings as well. The last player I am going to discuss before we get to my updated tiers is Odell Beckham Jr. He tested positive for the virus on Tuesday, but there is a decent chance that he is able to suit up. It is a risky proposition with what we know, however. The date of the game has been moved back for LA, and if he's your only option on Tuesday, then you are waiting at your own risk. I am circling Deebo Samuel with a home matchup against Atlanta in tier number 1. I would love to see him utilized more as a receiver, but you certainly can't argue with the output and production. As long as the touchdowns keep coming, owners are going to be happy, and the Falcons are certainly not about to screw that up. CeeDee Lamb is my guy in tier number 2. He travels to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. The Cowboys here, they need to ramp it up starting now, and I think Lamb helps them out in a big way in this excellent matchup. I am probably about as high as they come on this next guy. In tier 3, it is Darnell Mooney. He gets a home matchup against my Vikings. Mooney is about to blow up in prime time in the best matchup you could possibly ask for. The connection with Fields continues to blossom here. To the 4th tier, it's Michael Pittman Jr. in a home matchup with New England. Now, J.C. Jackson probably wins the war, but Pittman has the talent to win some battles here and put up solid numbers against the Patriots. Terry McLaurin is in the bottom of tier number 5. He travels to Philadelphia. And this has a lot more bust feel than boom, but Scary Terry can go off at any time. Garrett Gilbert probably doesn't help, but let's hope he does go off for us when it matters most. There is really only one tight end situation to talk about. It's TJ Hawkinson. And if you haven't heard yet, he had surgery on his left thumb on Thursday. He is done for the season. Into my updated tiers. In tier 1, it's George Kittle with a home matchup against Atlanta. Travis Kelce just put the hammer down on any hopes of 3 straight tight end 1 finishes, but Kittle will still give it the good old college try. Into my second tier, Mike Gesicki gets a big upgrade. He gets those Jets at home. And there are massive opportunities in the passing game with Waddle likely out, and the Dolphins are going to feed Gesicki as they win their 6th straight. My focus in tier 3, it's Zach Ertz. He travels to Detroit to take on the Lions. Ertz will benefit from the loss of Nuke, and he's shown more than capable when the targets have come his way. Gerald Everett surprisingly slides into my 4th tier. He travels to LA to take on the Rams, and depending on who actually ends up suiting up for the Hawks, Everett could be in for a massive target share. Progressing into my defenses, there isn't a lot of movement here, but we're going to get you those updated tiers nonetheless. Now into tier 1, I'm focusing on the Cardinals defense. They play Detroit on the road. Arizona plays this game angry and doesn't let up against the Lions. Expect plenty of big plays and watch the points pile up. To my kickers, Nick Folk's my man, traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. And despite a brutal matchup, I think Folk makes it 3 of 4, finishing in the top 3 at the position. And that is all she wrote for week 15 in my start, sit, updated tiers video. Please comment down below. Hit me up on Sleeper if you guys need any help with your lineups. I am available up until kickoff. I'm going to be checking in on it frequently. This is a critical week 15, and remember, things can change so quickly when it comes to rankings and which players we prefer with new news coming. So reach out if you have any questions. I want to be able to support you. If you are new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. It means so much to me. It helps me out a ton on my journey to get my first 100 subscribers. Let's go out and get those dubs. Leave nothing left on the field. No regrets. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.